All right, welcome back again, as I said, to Big Talk from Small Libraries. I am Krista Burns, your host. We are ready for our noontime lightning rounds. 5 very quick, about 10-minute presentations from some of our speakers today. Up first is Leveraging the Power of Little. As you can see on the screen there, Hope Decker, who is another one from my home state of New York. I am here in Lincoln, Nebraska right now, but I am originally from upstate New York. And she's going to talk to us about, well, yeah, like I said, leveraging the power of little. So go ahead, Hope, take it away.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your lunch hour. I figure any day I get to talk about libraries is a good day.
Yes.
So, leveraging the power of little. In general, we think of smallness as a lack. It's seen as an obstacle. We feel that lack really acutely in small libraries. And we feel hindered by our size and all of the limitations that presents. But in the next couple of minutes, I'd like you to look at your smallness in a different way. This could also be called an optimist's guide to small libraries. And when we think of optimists, it's not about pie in the sky, unrealistic, head in the clouds kind of thinking. It's actually a productive way to approach life in libraries. It empowers us to solve our problems rather than just focus on our problems. And optimism actually garners a lot of support. People want to get behind that kind of thing. And if you're interested in this mindset, David and Goliath by Malcolm Gladwell is a good place to start. Unfortunately, he doesn't give any examples from libraries, but he does talk about ordinary people and how they overcome their obstacles and how those obstacles actually might be beneficial. He calls them desirable difficulties. So as I'm going through this, I would invite you to think about this question, possibly answer it. In your library, how have you used a limitation or obstacle as an opportunity? So, disadvantages to being little. Obviously, limited space. This is the library that I was the director of for 9 years before my current position. And this was the first building we were in. It was 800 square feet. And yes, those young ladies are on the floor because there is no place to sit in the 800 square foot library, and they're right behind the front door. Limited staff. Often we are a staff of one. This is me actually in front of our new library, and at that point we were not a staff of one, but I couldn't find any other pictures to illustrate my point. So this is illustrating a staff of one, or maybe one at a time. Maybe we have a bunch of part-time people, but that's definitely a disadvantage. Limited funding, huge disadvantage. And limited community resources, and what I mean by that is sometimes our towns, our communities don't have any resources. There are very few businesses. This, by the way, is Cohocton, and the library was right over here by the American flag, all this green storefront. The towns often don't have public transportation. There's no museums, art centers, YMCAs, community centers. A lot of times we don't have the government agencies that can help people in our towns. Even community service organizations like Lions clubs, some towns don't have that. This is especially true in rural and high poverty areas. We have very limited community resources. So what do we do about limited space? When I was the director of the Cohocton Library, we went out and got into our community. Small spaces and buildings force us to be clever in how we offer programs and services. This is an example of a program that we did in the elementary school's gymnasium/auditorium. There was no way that all of the kids that came to that program were coming to our little library building. So it's an opportunity to reach out, to make partnerships with schools, parks, other community organizations that have space, to get outside of our 4 walls of our library. Limited staff. If you are a staff of one, there probably aren't a whole lot of committees. There's not a lot of bureaucracy. It's just you making the decisions. It's much easier to change when there's a small staff. If you've ever worked in a large organization, you know how difficult change is to enact. So being small, this is actually a real plus. I like to think of it like a jet ski, which is very nimble and can change on a dime, uh, to a huge oil tanker, which takes hours to change direction. We have the ability to make change. It's an opportunity to be innovative, to take a chance or two, to try something new, to do things a little differently. Not, and I encourage you not to be afraid of making mistakes. You can be responsive to your community and say, yes, these are great things that every library should have, but because we're small, we're kind of forced into this situation if we want to be engaged and active in our communities. This, by the way, is a picture of a program that we did in response to declining numbers of attendees during our summer reading program. We looked into the community to see what was going on and why people weren't coming to the summer program as much, and we made a partnership with the school to offer a great program that helped struggling readers, and it's really a lot easier to be responsive to your community when you're small. Limited funding, well, that's a tough one. But it does force us to rely on our community. There is this sense that we're all in this together. These are pictures of a community work day that we had. When we moved into our big building. The building was a furniture store, and you can see the furniture store sign coming down. It's an opportunity to ask for help, whether it's for volunteers, donations, or maybe even a budget increase through a library vote. Once we've served our community to the library's fullest ability, then it may be time to ask for increased funding. This past year, the Cohocton Library asked for a 94% increase, and the voters gave it to us. We just couldn't do another thing with the current level of funding that we had. Limited community resources. If you're the only game in town, you really don't have a lot of competition. But your community really understands how vital their library is. This was a program where we had the 6th grade band come in and perform during the day, and a lot of grandparents who couldn't come out at night were able to attend. We had a politician come and speak, and it was a wonderful opportunity for everybody to enjoy the library space. But these are the kind of things that our small communities really appreciate. It's an opportunity for advocacy. Actually, in my opinion, everything is an opportunity for advocacy. We need to capitalize on how important the library is to our community and talk about it. I made this infographic at PictoChart, but you can also tell stories about the child who hated reading and found Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and now he loves reading, or the gentleman you helped find a job online or taught a grandma computer skills. All those stories are really important, and we don't brag enough about our libraries, but we need to. We need to always tell people about what we're doing and how important our library is to our community. So back to the question. In your library, how have you used a limitation or an obstacle as an opportunity? I'm really curious. I also would love to take some questions.
Sure.
Thanks.
Great. Great. Thank you so much, Hope. Yes, if anybody has any ideas, how have you done this in your library? Use the questions section of your GoToWebinar interface. Type in there. And somebody actually did right at the beginning when your first couple of slides said, and they kind of before you had actually mentioned it, they said we have solved some of our limited space by taking the library out to the community, taking the library on the road.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
that's a
great.
way to do it, yeah.
I
Anybody
think
have?
every library should do that. I think because we're small, we're forced to do that.
Mhm. And someone actually commented here on Twitter that I just saw that says we don't brag enough about our libraries, and she
Mm,
agrees that we really need to. Yeah, advocacy is a big thing, definitely. Get the
yes,
word out about what you're doing.
yeah,
And it's also many times all we need to do is ask. Ask for what do
that's right.
people want? What are they looking for? Someone just commented for that. All right, great. Thank you very much, Hope. Um,
Thank you.
oh, and someone just added in. This is a good idea. Booth at the farmers market. That's a way to get out
Yeah.
to the community. And someone just did an economic impact study of their library. That definitely get you some great ideas.
Great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hope.